Welcome to this edition of Austin Faith Dialogue, when we are being welcomed in partnership with KNVA. Stay with us.
Austin Faith Dialogue, at the crossroads of religion and life. A series highlighting the cultural and social interactions between the worshiping and religious communities in and around the capital city. Austin Faith Dialogue is brought to you by the Austin Metropolitan Ministries in cooperation with KXAN. Join us now in Austin Faith Dialogue.
Hello, I'm Richard Thompson of Austin Metropolitan Ministries, welcoming you to this edition, the very first one that we are having with KNVA. And we're going to be having a very special treat tonight, as in addition to our first half, during our second half, having a look at Super Bowl Sunday, as in S-O-U-P-E-R. But first, we're going to be joined by Leslie Cook in thanking you for having us part of your KNVA family.
Thank you so much. KNVA is proud to have the Austin Faith Dialogue as part of its weekly programming here. We believe that faith is so much a part of so many people's lives, so why not have a program on that pays tribute to and just notes the faith going on in the community.
Right. Well, over the years, as we have shared the life of the religious community across the metropolitan area, we have looked forward to a time in which there could be a feedback in terms of what, for instance, you at this station are doing to have a religious emphasis that is ecumenical and interfaith. Could you give us a little bit of a sense of that, Leslie?
What type of feedback that...
And the sort of programs and features that you do.
And the features that we have done. Well, I work, as many of you know, in the news department here at KNVA and at KXAN, Channel 36. And we have done many stories, even on our news programs, that deal with religion, what religion is doing in people's lives. I want to show you a few examples of some of the ones we've done over the last year. This, of course, is last year's Ramadan, the Muslim holiday. Time of cleansing, really where Muslims pray many times a day, fasting, and they learn discipline that way. And so we did that last year and followed Ramadan throughout the entire month, or however many days Ramadan lasted, and actually then went to the large feast at the end of the whole Ramadan period and celebrated with them.
Well, it's interesting that you should have done that, because in Austin Metropolitan Ministries, as the interfaith and ecumenical group in town, we have the Muslims as part of that community, and that reflects the fact that they are of growing importance, both in number and in their faith tradition.
They are growing. I believe they're building a school as well, a community center here in the community. So we do see more and more Muslims in the Austin and Central Texas area. I think last year when we did that story, that was the largest community, Muslim community involvement that they had seen thus far. Right? Yes.
So that was like in early '96 that you did that?
Yes, in the fall.
Okay, and also in '96 you did a couple other stories that you
I did several other stories, but one other one that we thought was sort of interesting, that was, we called it Religion Online. You can see there, this is a student at UT, at Baptist Student Ministries, or the Baptist Student Union there. We basically focused on how so many different ministries and so many churches are getting online, finding a place on the web. And I sort of made a play on electronic evangelism, using the web not only as a place to reach out to other people in this community, but reach out across the country and even across the world. These students at UT were speaking to other students at different colleges across the country and gaining support, spiritual support. So they used it not only as a tool for evangelism, but also as a means for counseling. They would even counsel via the web.
I see. There was a Time magazine at the turn of the year had a feature on Jesus Online. That talked about how many religious communities are using the internet as a means of communication. And so what you've done is said this is going on in Austin as well.
Oh, very much so. Think about it. Austin is probably one of the most high-tech areas around, and so we are very much online, and the religious communities are not being left out of that. They're finding that there are so many pros to it, to getting online and using them. But though I do have to say that we also found that a lot of them said the only thing that we don't like about the web so much is that personal contact is not there. So the people at the Baptist Student Union were saying that after we connected with someone, we then later, at one point, liked to meet them face to face, to have that personal contact.
Right. Well, it's a little bit like television. I mean, it's been said that it's like kissing somebody on the telephone. I mean, it's not,
It's not
as
quite
direct.
the same, is it? Well,
Okay.
we do have another one,
right.
another area in our community. Of course, the Catholic community is very large here in Central Texas, and this was last year's Chrism Mass in April of '96. You can see all the priests. We thought this was a real good video opportunity because, of course, they put on a beautiful traditional ceremony with the oils. There's Bishop John McCarthy leading the service, leading the Mass. A time when all of the priests got together and were sort of not recertified really, but just sort of kind of recommitted for the next year. And I learn a tremendous amount every time I go out and do a story like this.
Right.
Because before I moved to Austin, I didn't know much at all about the Muslim community, not a lot about the Catholic community. So I'm learning a lot.
Well, now, you came to Austin within the last year or so. From where were you before?
I was in Northwest Arkansas. I was in Fayetteville, Arkansas. That's my home, is Arkansas. So I had been there, and I had been doing some religion reporting for a couple of years. And so that's why I guess they've allowed me to continue and enjoy a little bit of that area of reporting here.
So in a sense, you brought that interest with you and that experience with you and have been applying it in the ways that we've seen here. Tell us about some other stories that you've done.
Well, here we've done, let's see if I can remember some others. We did a story on the National Day of Prayer, which was, I guess, back in May, sometime in the summer. I remember it was very hot. We actually led the newscast with that story,
really?
which was a little different, but there were so many people in the city of Austin and across Central Texas involved in that day that we thought, why not? Numbers were there, and so many people were taking time out of their day to pray and to just note the fact that prayer is important in their lives. So we led the newscast with it.
Okay, well, that's, I would say, a little unusual to have that as your lead.
It really was. It really was.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we've done different stories just on individual churches that were doing different benefits or programs that benefited the community. We focused a lot on the homeless problem in Austin, which has been a big topic with the city council for ever since I've been here. And the churches, of course, as you know, getting very involved in trying to step in and solve some of that.
And
so
that's
we
not
followed
just
that
religious news, that's news that's in regard to social issues. And I think that's one of the things that we've learned in our experience on Austin Faith Dialogue, that it's not just a little ghetto that is part of the news scene, but it's very much at the heart of what is going on in terms of these human needs.
And when you think about it, newsmakers, or not even newsmakers, but just people in general, when faith is so much a large part of their lives, they make decisions and based on their faith so many times. So it has to be mixed, has to be news that way.
And you've had some other stories.
I have. I'm trying to think of some other ones that I've mentioned. We did a story on, well, we actually did a two-part series, which was kind of different, and that was on angels, the popularity of angels.
Oh, yeah.
And not so much with one church or with one person, but we talked to a group of people that were focusing on what they believe angels did for them in their lives. And that had a spiritual overtone as well, because so many of them believed in the angels because of their belief in God and a higher being.
I see.
So that's another one.
Well, that, you at least got the people in that if you didn't get the angels themselves.
Didn't get them on video. Couldn't find them, but the people described their experiences and how they really make decisions in their lives based on some of the things that angels tell them or show them.
Did you notice in our introductory clip there where we had some various scenes from shows in the past, the kind of the variety of topics that we've covered during our preceding 9 years here in the city doing this broadcast. And one of the things that we found is the interest and the importance of emphasizing religion in the arts. And the fact that Austin, Texas is not only a high-tech community of internet users and so on, but it is a city full of creative folks in the arts. And one of the things that I look forward to our doing in the weeks ahead with you is to bring in some of that creativity. as well as to continue to focus in on some of the issues that are like the homeless. The Austin Metropolitan Ministries is working in connection with the city on hoping to get a shelter, something like Orlando, Florida has. And there's the Interfaith Hospitality Network, which is churches cooperating to house up to 14 family members, homeless at a time,
Right.
to get them on their feet. So these are the sorts of things that carry over from the past into the future. And one of the things that I really appreciate, I'll have to say, about KNVA is I know that you all are the only community-owned television station in town.
We are.
I mean, the ownership for all the rest is somewhere else, and I think that means that you have a unique sense and touch for these community issues.
And we're pretty proud of that fact, and we're also pretty proud that we try to offer all of our viewers a little something different. We are affiliated, we run a lot of Warner Brothers programming, but that means we run a lot of not only children's programming in the afternoon, but family, what we call family programming as well, and that's a lot of the good old programs like I Love Lucy and some of those others that people enjoyed many, many years ago, but that are still very watchable and very popular. So we have that on as well. So we have sort of a different audience, but we believe in the family.
And one of the things, this is kind of looking ahead, but in February, through Austin Metropolitan Ministries and in cooperation with UT and St. Edwards and Houston Tillotson and some educational groups, we're going to be doing a media literacy conference. And we'll be bringing in on February the 22nd Liz Tolman, who's the director of the National Center for Media Literacy out of Los Angeles. And the whole point of that is, as a movement throughout the country, is people learning to read television. That it's not just something that we're meant to be passive in relationship to, but to understand what this is doing to us and our consciousness, and to be able to accentuate the positive, but not to be completely swept away by the, well, you know, so much about the violence and I hate to say even the advertising, that, you know, you have to have that to make your station go, but do we consume to live or live to consume kind of thing?
Yes.
So when we have that conference, maybe you could do a little feature on that.
And then you said that's in the spring?
Well, that'll be in February the 22nd.
Okay, we'll definitely keep an eye out for that.
So we'll be offering ideas as things come along to add to your list of what you've done already.
I think that's a very good contact that we're going to have now in the community, because a lot of churches and groups already do send us press releases even. Some of them are becoming savvy enough to really learn how to work with the media that way. Some are even hosting get-togethers for the media to kind of bridge that gap and make that connection. So we're hoping in the future that will continue, and maybe you'll be a good contact.
You have given us a perfect segue here to what we're going to have each week in terms of the community calendar that will highlight events that pertain to the religious community, such as on January the 25th on a Saturday at Concordia College University, there will be an ethnic affair. So look forward to that, and then we'll have these following events rolling on the monitor for you to see. And in the second half, stay tuned for Super Bowl Sunday, S-O-U-P-E-R, which will be hosted by our other host on Austin Faith Dialogue, Sandy Wilder. So stay with us.
is good to have you on Austin Faith Dialogue. Welcome back. We're glad you're here. And for the second half of the show, we're going to be talking about a special occasion in American life, one filled with ritual and pageantry, ceremony. And no, it's not a religious occasion. It's the Super Bowl. And to talk about a particular project related to the Super Bowl, but with a really different focus, is Pat Felter from Central Presbyterian Church. Thanks for being here, Pat.
Thanks for asking me.
Now this project is called the Super Bowl, but it's not the football game. What is this project?
This project is an attempt for churches in the nation to participate with all of the people of God in that one day. There are a lot of people who'll be gathered with their families and friends and drinking and eating, and we're reminded that not everyone will be gathered with family and friends drinking and eating. So this, I think, is an attempt to participate with everyone in that day. On that particular day, we ask people to donate money to those people who are perhaps hungry or some other service or charitable organization so that everyone can participate in that one day.
Now the name is the Super Bowl, but it's S-O-U-P.
Right.
What, you bring cans of soup to church?
Well, actually, most churches ask that you bring $1 for each person and donate that. Now, our church does actually give you the opportunity to donate canned goods if that's how you would prefer to participate. We donate the money and the goods to a local organization that gives out food. So, since we're familiar with donating canned goods, some of the people kind of prefer to actually give the hard food instead of the money.
Sounds very easy. What do you have to do in terms of promotion, let's say?
Well, it's been very easy for us. We started it last year, and we found out about it through a flyer that we got from a Presbyterian organization. And we announced it in the newsletters of the church. We have a couple of those a month, and we also put it in the bulletins. It was very easy to get the word out, and we didn't do a lot of promotion. I'm sure that other churches may do it on a larger scale than we actually do it.
And so what were your results last year?
Well, I think we probably we kind of averaged what the food would cost because we did get a lot of canned goods, and we got about $1 a person for the people that were there on that Sunday.
And the idea then is to give away so that people who don't have, as you say, even a bowl of soup, might have something to eat. But how do you decide who the recipient might be?
Well, I truthfully do not remember who we gave it to last year, but we asked the kids if there's, it started with a youth group and within our youth group at our church. So we asked them if there's a particular organization that they're already familiar with through some of the service projects that they do, that they would like for the money to go to. We participate in several service projects, and they generally just pick one.
And then what does the national organization, which is out of South Carolina, as I recall, what do they require that you do?
Actually, they require very little. They ask that we call them and let them know how much money was actually taken in. And then they count it all up and let us know nationally how much money was taken in it. And it's gotten quite good results in very little time. I think it started 6 years ago inside of a youth group in South Carolina. So they started pretty small, and now it's nationwide. So it shows what a little effort can do and how it can mushroom into a very important project.
And I'm impressed that there's not a lot of, it sounds like there's not a lot of administration. Do a little promotion, call in your amount, and that's it. What an easy way to do some good.
It's very easy, and the youth can participate without dedicating a lot of their time to it. They stand at the back of the sanctuary, and last year and this year held soup pots so people could just drop in their donations as they left, or actually put the cans in if they preferred to bring cans.
And then, did your youth group, like a lot of them do, did it actually sit down and watch the Super Bowl afterwards, later on that day?
Actually, in years past, they'd had a party every year to kind of watch the Super Bowl. And the girls, some of them really aren't interested in it. So this was another way to include all of the youth. It gave them a little bit of a connection to that Sunday without the girls just saying, oh, I'm not interested in football or something. It gave another connection.
I wonder if you and your family sat down and watched the Super Bowl, did it feel any different after having done this Super Bowl project earlier in the day?
I think it always feels good when you can help someone else, even if it's sort of remote. You know, we don't actually see the people, but knowing that we have participated in hopefully bettering their life for at least a little while, I think it always feels a little better knowing that you've done something.
Something that didn't take a whole lot of preparation, but made a difference.
Very easy. And that's one of the draws with the youth. They are very committed in their lives. They have many things that they have to do. So they're always looking for a way to participate that isn't too terribly time-consuming, yet they can feel good about it.
Do you know if any of them, say, since your group didn't watch, if any of them watched at home, if there were any conversations around the television that night as people watched the football game about the collection and what that meant earlier in the day? I just wonder if people's thoughts might have been changed somehow.
I think that the thoughts are changed before that day. I think in the preparation for it and the thinking ahead to remember to either bring the canned goods or to donate the dollar, I think the thoughts actually go into it perhaps before you actually get to the Super Bowl, actual watching of the game. Our kids do watch the game together, a lot of them, but another way that they feel good about it is they also have spent one day volunteering at the organization that we give the money to. So that kind of gives them some ownership of that participation that they did in another time during the year. They get to actually see how the money is put into use.
Not just give your money or your can of soup and forget about it, but you can develop a relationship then too.
Right. They get an opportunity to participate hands-on, other than just standing there with the soup pot.
Right, right. Now, from this, there may be some folks who are really interested in participating, and I believe we've got the telephone number, which is 1-800-358-SOUP. Is that right? I think I've got it right. We should have it up on screen here after a while, so that anybody who wants to call can, because there's still time, say, to get information faxed to you or something like that.
And you could probably do it on very short notice by just putting it in the bulletin and making some announcement about it during the service.
Do you have it, in the brochure, does it say anything about how much difference the project made last year?
Yes, yeah, last year's a very interesting story, I thought, because prior to last year, I think the money amount for the year before had been around $350,000 or $400,000. See if I can look it up. I don't think it details it. But last year, the Super Bowl was in Tempe, and the Phoenix area, which is where Tempe is, collected the Super Bowl money a week early. So going into Super Bowl Sunday, we knew that that area alone had collected $400,000. So they had matched what the entire nation had done just in the Super Bowl area. So the entire nation last year collected $1.3 million. For hunger organizations and all sorts of charitable organizations.
And so that represents people, I'm sure, of a lot of faith backgrounds.
Many faith backgrounds.
Okay.
49 states last year were reporting. So that's almost all 50.
I seem to remember noticing somewhere that there were in Austin, about 11 churches last year that participated, so I hope the number grows this year. And,
I'm sure it will.
And as a result of participating in Super Bowl Sunday last year, and I assume again this year in '97, what changes might be happening in your youth group's ministry? Do you see a new consciousness of hunger developing, let's say, or community service?
We try to concentrate on community service. We did several hunger projects last year. We went to the hunger banquet. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but they had a banquet where they educated everyone there on how people ate in different areas of the world, and you drew a ticket for what you were going to get to eat. And
oh, the kind of event where some people get a lot, but most people get very little.
Right, or get rice and beans or something like that. But a few people have a gourmet meal. So that was educational for them. We took them to that. One of the things in our church, though, that's an outgrowth of this is that more adults are interested in it. We started it as a youth project with the mission committee helping, and now there are more adults that want to be part of the preparation for it and the planning for it. So it's not totally a youth event anymore. So it grows out of a youth interest and then kind of spreads.
Maybe a little competition among church school classes?
That would be a good idea. I hadn't thought of that.
There's still time this year, I think. There really is. And, you know, it's interesting that this project is happening now when so many of us have plenty to eat and even more than we need. It may be that hunger has faded from our consciousness, but I get the impression that hunger has not gone away, that there are still a lot of people for whom even a can of soup is such a gift. Is that what you're finding?
Even in the United States, this flyer they send out gives you a few details, and it says that 8 million young people in the United States, young people being under the age of 18, live in poverty. So 8 million is a number that's hard to imagine how many that is, but it's still striking to people that it's 8 million.
Now, Pat, you've done this for a year, coming on 2 years. Right. What kind of difference has participating in the Super Bowl project made for you personally or in your household?
I think that because we have a pretty heavy emphasis on some sort of service, at our church we do a number of things tied to hunger, various organizations where we either donate money or donate food or participate hands-on. I think the Super Bowl itself it's just sort of a balancing, it's a way to balance the fact that we're having such a really good time participating in fun activities with no thought of others with the reality of life for so many people. And in our family, we try to keep that in the forefront of our mind, but sometimes it does slip away when you're having a good time and things seem fine in the world where you are.
I wonder if we could ever get places that sell snack foods, let's say, right before the Super Bowl, to put out soup kettles so people could drop something in for the Super Bowl project. It dawns on me that there are so many commercials during the Super Bowl event, and so many relate to food, and yet here this project really does remind us once again that even a bowl of soup is a gift for people.
I think that everyone benefits from this, young and old alike.
Let's hope a lot of people call that 800 number.
Let's do.
Thanks so much for coming to talk about the project, Pat.
My pleasure.
And thank you for joining us on Austin Faith Dialogue. We hope you found the show on KNVA. Look forward to seeing you every week and look forward to hearing from you what projects and ministries you'd like for us to cover. Remember that it's always possible to get your announcements mentioned on Austin Faith Dialogue. Be sure to send your announcement by fax to Austin Metropolitan Ministries. Their fax number is 472-5274. We'll see you again next week on Austin Faith Dialogue.